Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode. A pleasant Wednesday morning to all of you. Rise and shine. If in case you have not embraced the morning and you'd rather be on your bed, well, yeah, we don't blame you. What we have for today is episode number 26 of the podcast. And like always, and during an ongoing season of the show, this is aired every Wednesday, both for Spotify as well as on my YouTube channel. Now, you have the option to listen or to watch us. Of course, we leave that choice in your hands. And whether you're watching or just listening to us, please click the subscribe button as well as ring the bell so you do not miss a single episode and you will be notified when a new one comes along. Now, like always, all of our past episodes are all ready for you to return to or listen to it chronologically if you are listening to us or watching us for the first time. Now, for today's episode, we have another creative who knows the meaning of juggling. From being a writer, an editor, a wife, and especially a mom. That's a very, very hard job, you know. She wears a lot of hats, and she graduated from the London Metropolitan University with BSc in Criminology and Psychology, and then completed an MFA in creative writing at the DLSU in Manila. She received fellowships from the 45th Silliman University and the 6th ES LaSalle National Writers Workshop, as well as the International 2003 Roots, Wounds, Words. This is the Writers' Retreat for Storytellers of Color. Now, she's written a full-length poetry collection, which is called After the Sunstone, back in 2016, a verse novella, which is called Black, which is what we're going to be discussing today, during the year of the lockdown, an illustrated children's book called The Sad Cat 2 years after that, and two chapbooks, Maps of Tenderness in 2018, and Elena and Other Stories this year. All right. She is also a book coach as well as a writing mentor for young people and conducts writing workshops on the craft of writing as well as expressive writing for mental health. She is a child rights and mental health advocate. You know, I could probably stay on for another hour talking about her accomplishments, but really, it is best to hear from her directly. Hello and good morning and welcome to the show, Miss Michellan Alagao.
Hi, good morning, CJ, and good morning to everyone who's tuning in. Hello, I hope you're having a nice Wednesday morning.
All right, welcome, Michellan, to Urban Fantasy PH. So glad to have you here
Yeah,
today.
happy to be here.
Now, when you hear your accomplishments like that being read back to you, does it give you some sort of out of body experience? Like, ako ba lahat yan? Did I do all that? It couldn't be me. It had to be someone else.
Yeah, kapagod.
Hashtag
Pagod na ako, oo. Parang gusto ko na lang matulog. But yeah, I mean, I think the one that I'm most, as you mentioned, most proud of is being a mom, I think. And yeah, that's what keeps me going. Because I'm like, oh nga pala, there are two little people who are relying on me and my husband. Gotta go back to work.
I have two hobbits to take care of.
Yes. And they eat two breakfasts. And
Oh no! Oh no!
Yes, it's
Second
that
breakfast.
stage. Oh.
Oh yeah, growing hobbits. Yes, you need to feed them all.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of looking back, really, on what you've accomplished. It does send signals to your brain to categorize what you've done and to remind you that you only have two ways to look at it. Either to look at it from the perspective of, wow, I've done so much, I can now take a break, or I wish I could take a break and rest on your laurels for a bit. Or you push yourself further because you feel that you can give a little bit more in the next round. So which of the two do you think you fall under?
Definitely the second part.
Okay.
And a lot of it, I think, is like not like a desire to like do like, oh my gosh, I want to be more awesome and stuff, because I really don't think I am. uh, Parang when you read it out loud, sometimes I think, wow, ang sabog ko. Ang
Wala,
sabog ng buhay ko. Kasi it's like,
sabog ba yan?
and
Dami accomplishments.
and a lot of people ask me, they're like, ha, so yun ang course mo? Parang criminology, psychology. Tapos, anong ginagawa mo na yun? Parang, and then it's like, it becomes an elaborate story of like me saying, okay, well, see, this is what I actually like, wanted to do. And then this is what I'm doing now. And then all the things in between. And then you kind of realize that things were okay. Parang they all worked out in the end.
Mhm,
Because like yun nga, like my course actually like it was preparation for something more forensic related, diba?
yes.
So like it can be pwede siya forensic psychology, pwede siyang social services,
Mhm,
and I really did want to go more into something like that. But along the way, I've always loved writing, and so I think it kind of merged as well, because I ended up working at. So this is like one of my previous jobs. I
mhm.
ended up working for an NGO that helped rescue and restore survivors of sex trafficking
Mm,
and child sexual abuse online. It's
okay,
called OSEC, so or
right.
online sexual exploitation of children. So nagamit siya kasi I was comms manager for that. Um, and so nagamit yung psychology, criminology plus the writing, since I
Mhm,
would be doing materials for them, knowledge products and things like that. And then while doing that, I realized I did love the NGO world, the non-developmental world, and I liked working with young people. And
mhm,
so eventually I ended up, long story short, at a learning center where I would be teaching writing in different subjects to young people ages 12 to 22.
okay.
And it was really like, going back to the pandemic. Actually, no, let's not go back to the pandemic. But just looking back on it, that was the time na sobrang I was online um, all day, every day, teaching classes and doing mentoring with young people, because it was pretty bad. A lot of young people were having mental health issues. Kasi
Mhm,
sila yung mga hindi nakakalabas, di ba? Remember,
yeah,
there was that
exactly.
age cap. The young ones couldn't go out, and then the seniors. And then, we could, like our age, medyo okay pa. But for
Mm,
them, they were like, very cloistered. Like
yeah, yeah.
I had one young person. I remember he was around 15 or 16, and then he was like saying na parang, ano, Tita Mitch, nakatakas ako, lumabas ako. Pumunta ako ng cafe, uminom ako ng parang like some drink or something. And I was like, ha, bawal ka. He's like, yeah, but I can't take it anymore. I had to
Yeah.
go.
Same
So,
thing for my
mhm,
nephew. I mean, hirap na hirap siya noon. He would just, take the car, drive around the
mhm,
village, and gano'n. Para lang makalabas. In
yeah,
spite of yung sinasabihan ng sister ko na parang wag ka lumabas, na hindi talaga hindi pa pwede. But
wala ka
wala eh.
ng ID.
Hindi mo
Oo,
mapigil eh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yes, kukuha ka pa ng ID. Yeah, back when
oo.
nasa condo pa
Yeah, that
kami.
was a pass, right?
Yeah,
Goodness.
and ano nun, ubusan pa ng ID. Pagka wala,
Mm,
kunyari, 12 lang ang pwedeng ibigay ng guard sa baba ng lobby.
yeah,
Pag naubos yung 12, mag-antay ka pa pag may bumalik bago makuha yung ID mo.
exactly. So
Ah,
grabe talaga 'yun. So yeah, I mean, I'm thankful all the things that I went through and, like quote unquote accomplished and ganyan. Parang it really like fed into like my helping others and into the
mhm,
mentoring that I do for young people. Which is really, I think, such a blessing and a privilege, diba? Na to be able to say that na parang, oh, okay, kaya pala parang ang sabog nung path ko. Eventually nagamit ko rin 'yon for not just myself and to like for my parang accomplishments and things, but also
mhm.
for others and especially young people.
Right. Well, as a friend of mine said before, nothing is an accident. So I don't think it really
Mm,
is or was an accident that doon ka napunta, that that's the route that you went through.
yeah.
You're really meant to help those children. As humans, we're all just really hardwired to put ourselves into categories and classifications. But I was wondering, did you always wanted to be a writer growing up? I know the question seems basic, but I find it more interesting to hear when people have different plans in mind and then the universe steps in and gives you another choice that you have not mapped out for yourselves.
Mm. Yeah, actually, growing up, I wanted to be many things and not a writer. Like I
Hmm.
wanted, so I wanted to be a actress in musical, yung mga musicals. And then I
Yay!
realized I couldn't sing, so that was no more. Wala na yung
Dance na
panaginip
lang,
ko
dance
maging
na
Miss
lang.
Saigon, tapos na
Pwedeng
siya.
dance na lang.
Wala rin. No, wala at all. So I'm like sad. I used to play bass guitar, but
Mm.
then you just
Uy.
stand naman eh, and then so okay. So that was like easier. And I wanted to own a pet shelter, like just take in like pets, mga super random. I wanted to be, and then this is more towards my course. I wanted to be a spy. I wanted to be a detective
Ooh.
because I grew up reading Nancy Drew. So, so I was like, oh,
On
that
my
seems like,
end, grew up reading Hardy Boys, so yun talaga.
yeah, there you go. Parang may crossover nga sila, diba? So yun, and yeah, so that led to me want. And then when I did think about writing initially, writing seems like something I'd want to do.
Mhm.
Because I was like fairly okay with it. Like, parang my favorite, as usual, mga writer, favorite class natin is, kung hindi recess, English. So medyo okay naman ako sa English. Sabi ko, uy, parang yung mga high school pa, parang pwede akong writer. But I was thinking more of like journalism actually.
Okay.
And in like high school, college, I really like um, I was a boring kid. I watched CNN and stuff. So I looked up to Nick Robertson, Christian
Mhm.
Amanpour, yung,
Yes.
yung mga ganun. Sabi ko, uy, parang ganda ng trabaho nila. So here I am in Iraq. Oh, cool. Um, but
Saan
yeah,
sila napunta, di ba?
but I realized because my health isn't like 100, sakitin ako. So sabi
Mm.
ko, ay, parang di ata pwede. Parang baka pagka-arrive ko pa lang, deads na ako. Like wala
Ala,
pa ako sa battlefield. It's like, oh
hindi ka
no.
pa nagko-cover ng story eh.
Oo, bigla mamaya na ubobo na. Wala na. So sad. Um, so yun. So hindi rin natuloy. So I'm like, okay. But I've always been, I think the main thing is psychology. I've always really been interested in psychology and in some aspects of criminology.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then yun, and then suddenly, what I'm writing? What's up with that? Yeah, but I
There,
mean,
good, good. It's nice that, minsan ganun eh. You start
mm,
doodling and you just write and you don't really have the, I don't know, you don't really have the, it's not even guts. Parang the awareness hasn't really sunk in that you are, a writer, or that you
yeah,
can be a writer when
yeah,
when you start out. And so there are also some creatives whom I've spoken to that still keep, or at least remember, the first story that they've ever written. So wondering, would you happen to remember yours, and do you still have a copy somewhere?
oh gosh! Oo nga, no? Story as in, well, kasi I write mostly poetry.
Mm,
So
okay.
I do remember, like the first creative, like in terms of like creative thing that, wasn't an assignment, na hindi yung pinasulat ni teacher, that I wrote was a poem.
Okay.
So yeah, and I have no idea where it went. I know it was and even then I was like, kinda, I don't know, like it was a poem about poetry. It's like, what? Trying to be meta, you're 10. So medyo cringe. So medyo pretensyosa ako ng bata. So yeah, I remember it was
You
like,
were way far ahead of us.
I was just,
10 years old pa
yeah.
lang, meta ka na.
Oo nga, hindi ko alam ang ibig sabihin ng meta. Pakul lang ako nun. Parang, pero ako lang naman, yung mga ibang tao, parang, ano yun? Yeah. But yeah, but I mean, it's like just I was writing what I felt like writing,
Mhm.
and that actually did help me a lot. Like the I kept writing poetry. I didn't think that I would make money out of
Mhm.
writing poetry. I really started writing poetry for the sheer like love of it, and
Mhm.
and I think it did help my mental health, which is why I'm such a huge like advocate of mental health now. Because all throughout college then, so yeah, in college, of course you're studying, you're doing all these things. And then I would like write poems just to like cope, especially when I was doing subjects that I wasn't particularly fond of.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a subject I had that was like constitutional law. It was under the criminology aspect.
Oh wow. Okay.
It
You got.
wasn't fun. Hindi siya masaya. Interesting siya, pero yun nga, mabigat siya. So sometimes I'd find myself writing random phrases or parang poetry rather than studying like torts and whatever. And yun, yung mga legal method, yun, yung mga
Uh-huh,
ganun
uh-huh.
parang, so alam ko na hindi ako magiging lawyer. I mean, I have super respect for lawyers. I've worked with them. They're brilliant and they read a lot. You have to read
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. You have to
Like,
read a lot. True, true,
and
true.
you have to remember so many things and wala, di ko kaya. So, yan. So that was, I think, like, maybe the seed na parang, oh, okay,
This,
magiging writer ako
this
eventually.
sort of this sort of brings me back as well. Earlier on, high school and college. Parang if you dabble in something in the written word, parang usually poetry is the first form that
Yeah.
we would go for. No, I don't know. Is
Mm-hmm.
it because of the rhyme, or is it because of the ease we're in? I'm not really required to write so much, but just a snippet of it and tapos na. I'm done. I've already expressed myself. Maybe it's a little bit of that, but yeah. Now that you
Yeah.
mentioned it, I did write some poems before, and
Ah,
gosh,
see? Kamusta
pinabas.
naman?
Looking back, I don't know where they are, but I remember I wrote them because of this girl in class. Tapos
Mm.
pinatingin ko pa sa ibang barkada. But looking back, parang
Oh.
cringe siya kasi alam ko may rhyming scheme akong
Oo.
pinatutupad. Parang,
Okay lang yun. So you wrote it for her? Or
I
like,
wrote or I
and to
wrote it
give it to
about.
her?
Oh no! I wrote it about her. What
Oh.
what the expectations of people are about me and her, and my initial fascination of getting to know her. Parang yun yung naging
Mm.
that was the whole.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is now, but I know since I'm a pack rat, I don't really throw anything away. So who knows? Magugulat na lang ako, baka mahalungkat ko one of these
Oo,
days.
gulatin mo sila. I-post mo ang,
Oh God.
ang iyong poetry o love poetry.
Ako matakot niyan. But most of what we read these days or watch also stems from what we enjoyed as a kid. So I'm curious,
Mm.
what kind of shows or books did you gravitate towards, when you were growing up in your early years?
Oh my gosh. So, uh, this is like I I did love poetry. One I remember as a kid I had this book. It's like Immortal Poems of the English Language, and it's
Oh,
like sobrang ano siya, like yung mga old school, yung mga Coleridge, Keats, yung mga
Keats,
ganyan.
yeah, and all that.
Yeah, so very old school, very classic.
W. H. Auden and all that.
Yes, oo,
Oh,
exactly.
God.
And then I don't know why, but I just stumbled upon yung kay Villa, Jose
Mm,
Garcia Villa. I
mm,
came across one of his books, like yung may comma poems.
okay.
If you've seen those, it was wild. Like in my head, I was like, wow, you can do that with language. So the comma poems were like these poems na, where after each word is a comma. Like kunwari,
Okay.
hi, how are you? Pero may hi, comma, how are you? But syempre hindi yung kanyang words, diba? Mas poetic, mas
Right,
maganda.
right, right.
But then parang I realized the idea of it was, when you read it, you have to stop as if there's a comma.
Mm,
And so it changes the way that you read it out loud. And I just found that super like fascinating. I didn't know you could do that with language. And then I came across E. E. Cummings, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, so there was that aspect, because I was like a really wide reader. I was a geek. I had like 3 friends. So you know, I didn't have much of a social life. So throughout grade school, high school, and then I was also a huge sci-fi fantasy fan.
there you go.
That's why I like your cap, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Uh,
Um,
pero yan, yung shirt.
and
Yung iba
yeah.
natin yung shirt.
Oh my
Yay!
gosh! You have a Wheel of Time shirt? Wait, wait lang.
Yes.
So, sige, teka, mag-usap muna tayo. Napanood mo na ba yung episode 4 ng
Yes.
season 2?
Yes, yes, yes. Tapos
Right?
na ako.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. Wheel of Time was like, I grew up reading it. I started in like grade 5 and I ended, I was ano na, parang a few years ago lang. Kasi nga,
Mm.
tagal, di ba? And then he had to get Brandon Sanderson pa kasi nga namatay siya and everything. Naiyak pa ako noon. Anyway. So, I love Wheel of Time. I love your shirt. Tell me where you bought that. Cause like, and I've always wanted the Great Serpent ring. I like,
Kung pwede lang.
couldn't find one na yung hindi mangingitim yung ano ko. Gusto talaga totoong silver. Eh, no? And, but yeah, no, ang galing. And
Yeah,
then, I
I'll
was
send you
like,
the link. I'll send you
oh
the
my
link
gosh,
where I got the
yes,
shirt.
yes, please.
Ano lang siya,
So,
manipis lang
super
siya. So, hindi
excited
siya
ako.
masyadong hindi siya masyadong makapal. So, okay lang. Tamang
Okay,
kamal.
yes.
So, I will be wearing this since we're recording this in September, but we'll record this in September. I will be wearing this on MIBF. So, hey.
Really? I'm going then, MIBF.
Yes,
So, yeah.
kita-kita
So, if
tayo.
ever
Kita-kits.
kita-kita tayo, I'll be there Saturday, Sunday. But yeah.
Ah,
But wait, so I was looking at the episode list. And so I'm super looking forward to this week's episode kasi the title is Damani. And then, as you know, as Wheel of Time geeks we are, I went back to Great Hunt, diba? Kasi parang it seems like one book per season eh. So I looked at Great Hunt, and then, oh my gosh, I was like, some of the episode titles for the series, they're using the ones in the book.
in the book.
So, yeah, at tapos, super kinilig ako kasi, yung isang episode title, the one for this week that's gonna drop, episode 5 is Damane, and then the next one is Dais Daimar. So, meron din siya, di ba? So,
Meron
gosh,
din,
ayan na, gabiyanhan na yan. And then, the last episode of season 2, yung episode 8.
Wait, 8 lang ba talaga? No? Parang
Oo.
they didn't make it into, sana ginawa nilang 10. Para,
12, di ba?
or even 12, yeah.
Di ba? Oo.
Hindi ako magrereklamo.
Yeah, kahit 16 episodes mo pa yung panonood.
True. But
Diba?
I've been hearing a lot of people, not exactly being happy with the adaptation, but that's how it is. It's an adaptation. You're changing the whole. You have to fit it into into 45 minutes, an hour per episode. So talagang magpuputol-putol ka in places wherein
exactly
book-wise hindi bagay. But for the show, it works, diba?
Although I mean, honestly, for season 1, I was pretty disappointed, except at the very end when they showed the Sean Chan ships. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch season 2. Parang I was already thinking. But season 2 has gotten significantly better. I mean, at least for me, like in terms of pacing, in terms of character, diba? Ang medyo ano lang ako is parang yung kay Matt, parang it's like, hindi, kasi diba nag-change? But I'm hoping this new guy is like, this new actor will
actually
like,
the new Matt
better.
looks. I was telling my friend, lagi siyang antukin. Yung itsura ng mata.
May iyak siya. Or, pag nakikita natin siya, natutulog siya. Sa bagay, nasa kwarto lang kasi siya eh. So, medyo boring.
So, true. Yun nga. So,
Pero
I agree that season 1 was rather slow. I was like, okay, halfway through episode 1, nothing's happening. What's going on? Ba't ang bagal? And my friend was saying, no, pagtsagaan mo, go watch. And, you enjoy. And eventually, I did naman. And it was nice.
Yeah.
Season 2
and
obviously.
And the last episode, like episode 8, it's like the same title as the second to the last chapter of the book 2 of the Great Hunt. Yun what is meant to be. So alam na this. Like at least ako, like as the old school book reader, I'm like, ito na yun.
Pero syempre, no to spoilers tayo, so we will not mention. We will not mention that. But for those who've seen, but I'm happy that the Daughter of the Night, we've seen the Daughter of the Night.
Yes! Oh my gosh! She's one of my favorite Forsaken.
Diba?
Who's your favorite character or favorite characters actually? So far,
I like Loyal. Because he's very much, he
maganda yung
alam mo yung he's always surrounded by books, which is parang like a reminder to all of us writers and creatives, we can never have enough books. And I like Perrin.
Actually, you know what? Si Perrin yung pinaka for me like the character they were able to like do him justice.
Yeah.
Like in like parang book and mas na-develop siya.
Mas nade-develop, no?
Although
Si
we're hoping pa rin na all three
Si
Franz,
Moraine minsan sarap batukan eh, pero wala. She's a blue.
yeah.
She's a blue.
Blue
So parang
Aja, tapos
ah,
Kyrian pa siya, so she plays the game, the
ah,
great game.
diba? Oo, and she comes from a prominent family, so medyo
Oo. So medyo
mataas-taas ang
hoity-toity
mat,
siya. Oo.
mataas ang antas ko sa mundo.
Oo. Magdamo dread.
Yeah,
Siyempre, di ba?
exactly.
Oo.
Oh boy, now people know what we're watching. But
Yes.
but
Now
yeah,
this is but yeah, I mean, honestly, Wheel of Time, I used to, syempre nakakahiya to aminin, pero sasabihin ko na rin, I used to do fanfic of like Wheel of Time.
oh, you still do.
No, not anymore. Maybe I should. No, but I used to when I was in high school, because when I was so into Wheel of Time, and then ano ba yung fanfic natin nun? Ngayon kasi it's like AO3 eh. Parang fanfic.net yung super usong
Mm-mm. Yeah,
fanfic
yeah,
site.
yeah.
So
True, true, true,
yeah,
true.
I would post fanfiction of Wheel of Time
Nice.
there. Oh my gosh. But I mean, no hate to fanfic. Fanfic, I think I'm
It's
okay with
yeah,
it. Some writers are not
it's an
eh.
expression of your appreciation, your geekiness, and your love for the
Yeah.
fandoms, and that's where it comes from.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
which reminds me, I have to get that only published fanfic ko of Buffy and Angel.
Oh, no. Oh my
Na
God.
pinahardbound ko kasi parang thesis dati in college na naka-hardbound. Pinahiram
Oo.
ko sa isang friend ko, and binasa niya, but sabi niya, hindi ko na makita. How dare you? And hindi mo na makita. And then
I
siya,
did
nakita
you
na naman daw niya uli. Sabi ko, oh, di padala mo na. Andiyan naman ang Grab, andiyan naman ang Lala Move. Dali, di ba, baka mawala na naman. So, I don't know. Kulitin ko na uli.
oh,
But,
I have to get
yeah,
that.
I agree. Whatever fuels our imagination back as
Mm,
a kid, as a teenager, we all bring that, to us when we grow up and when we sort of like
yes.
inhabit the world that we set out to create. And you know
Mm,
what? Perhaps it's all of that that led you to take up your course in criminology and psychology. Two questions:
mm.
what is it about that course that appealed to you, and why was London the place and the choice, and maybe not the U.S.?
Yeah. So definitely, criminology, psychology, there's that aspect of me like loving like Nancy Drew and crime and things. And also, on a more personal note, I do have a lot of like mga kamag-anak, like
Mm-hmm.
relatives who were struggling with mental health issues. But at
Mm.
the time, so mga 90s, early 2000s, this wasn't, really addressed. 'Di ba? Parang nung panahon na yon hindi siya, parang people were either very dismissive or people didn't really see the importance of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized like growing up na parang, oh, okay, parang may hindi tama. Like, parang there's something not quite right about this. And so it just led me to like reading more about psychology and things. And then I realized na, oh, okay. So, there are mental health issues pala. And then as a child, growing up, I had depression. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that it was called depression. So I didn't know I was depressed. I just thought, I'm sad. I'm sad. Ganun lang.
Yeah.
Baka ganun lang talaga ako malungkutin. So, but then later on, I realized na parang, okay, no, parang, if it's chronic, if it's like years, and then you have like
Mm-hmm.
really persistent, then that's
Right.
it. And like imagine the first time that I actually saw a psychologist was already after college.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I had been struggling with depression since I was a child. So parang yun,
Right.
ang hirap, 'di ba? Hindi kasi siya masyadong uso sa atin eh to, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. I
Mm.
mean, it's only now, after the
Mm-mm.
after the lockdown, that there was a light that was, shone
Yes, exactly.
on all these things. Usually, when you say,
Yeah.
depressed, anxiety, wala, hindi relatable sa Pinoy yan
Oo,
kasi
basta
sa ano lang yan, sa kano lang yan, sa puti
oo,
lang yan.
mga ano
Example
lang
tayo
naman yan.
dyan.
Oo, mag-ano ka lang, parang itulog mo lang yan, ikain mo lang
Oo.
yan,
Oo.
okay ka na.
Mag-buffet na lang tayo, okay ka na.
Oo, yung gano'n. So so yun. So that was like growing up, I already had that sense that parang something seems to be like not right about this. So which led me to wanting to study psychology more, like on a college level. And then, kung bakit London? Kasi, so, my stepfather is Malaysian Indian.
Oh,
And
okay.
so he and my mom, they married when I was in high school, and then I went to live with them. Before that, I lived
Mm-hmm.
with my grandmother. So ang parang
Wait, did you live in Malaysia? No, or
yeah, for
still
a
here?
bit, I
For a
would
bit. Oh,
go
okay.
back and forth.
Mm.
So I was here until high school, and then from high school, from college, I went to London. Hindi na ako
Mm.
umuwi masyado rito. Sa Malaysia na
Mm.
uwi. And then,
Okay.
eventually, afterwards, I went back here for masters. But, mas uso I think, you know how tayo, pagka yun medyo upper middle class or middle class na families, we were like, oh, kung kaya, padala natin sa Amerika yung isang anak natin. Like yung
Mm-hmm.
panganay, ako kasi si panganay eh. Padala sa ano yan, sa Amerika para mag-aral.
Mm.
Sa kanila naman, I guess because of the colonial connections, if they're going to send someone abroad, one of the first choices is not the US, it's actually England. They're like,
Mm.
okay, so si Micho, gusto mo mag-study abroad? So ako naman, yes, okay. O, punta akong England. Okay. So I'm like, oh, sure. So that's why. So kaya ano siya, London, England.
Mm.
That's why I ended
Nice.
up going there. Yeah.
I was wondering while studying and also interacting with the people there, may mga na pick up ka ba na parang oh they're doing it there pero pag dito sa Pinas hindi applicable yan. Ano may mga na pick up ka bang gano'n?
Oo. One of the ones that well, medyo, yung pag-birthday,
Mhm.
one time, punta akong birthday, fully expecting to just go there and eat. Hindi
Mhm.
pala. Ano pala, no? Yun mga guests, parang we went to a restaurant.
Mhm.
And then kaming mga guests, naghati-hati. And then yung birthday person, like the birthday celebrant, yan,
Mm.
siya yung hindi nagbayad. So, di ako prepared doon.
Okay,
Akala ko kain lang
baliktad.
ako, baliktad. So, yun. So, I was like, what? Okay, that's fine. Now I know.
Buti may
Um,
dala.
Oo, wala akong pera. So, yun, there was like one of those things. But other things is, when I was there, kasi this was like early 2000, and the, it was interesting in a sense because most of the Filipinos there were nurses, really. Like,
Mhm.
I think the first batch of nurses went to London, mga 70s, ganyan. So, and there weren't really a lot of them. So, usually, diba, like, not just here, but in other countries, like, because before that, I had been, like, just on vacation to, like,
Mhm.
the US or to different Asian countries. Um, And you know, if someone was a Filipino, and you're, oh, Filipino ka ba? Oh, Filipino ako. And then you'd end up chatting.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, but for some reason, and I don't know why, baka ako lang to, or, doon sa London, hindi, baka na yun different na rin. It wasn't like that. Like, sometimes I'd see someone and I have a feeling they're a Filipino. And I just wait na parang, oh. And then they'd look at me and be like, and then we just look at each other. And then they'd just leave. And I would be so,
Ah.
parang super nawiwirdohan ako doon na parang, huh? We didn't greet each other. We didn't like go, are you Filipino?
Oh, you didn't like, uy, kabayan. You didn't do like
Oo,
anything like that.
yeah. And I didn't ano that. I didn't experience that, like,
Hmm.
although if it's someone na, like, kunwari, someone my mom knows and then is introduced to me, super, like, warm, friendly, or if you met them na you're in a setting where you know everyone's already a Filipino. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pero yung the typical on the street or just passing through or inside the tube, in sa train, and you see a
Mhm.
Filipino that or you think is a Filipino, hindi nagpapansinan. And I was wondering
Talaga.
na why. Is
Oh.
it like parang, is it the London air? I don't know. Are people more wary or, ewan ko.
I don't know. We
I
can
don't
never tell.
know.
Hopefully things have changed,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Na
I
hindi
think
ganun
now
ulit.
it's not like that. I think there are more Filipinos now and they're more like
Yeah. I mean, even if you
chill.
don't really ask and you see a Filipino, they see you. and you just
Right?
smile, and then alam mo na,
Yeah.
when they smile
Oo.
back at you, they know that okay,
Yeah.
kabayan, hello,
Oh.
yeah, which is like that.
So
Yeah,
so that was one thing.
I wonder though if
Or baka ako,
if
maybe
Americans
it's
are like
my
that, pag nakita sila, they went to Europe, nakita silang kapa kano, ganun kaya sila? Feeling ko
oo
hindi.
nga, nagyayakapan ba sila? Parang, "Hey, where you from, bro?"
Oo, parang
"Oh,
feeling ko hindi
Missouri."
eh. Parang, yeah, because they all look alike. Sorry.
Oh, no. Hala.
Sorry. Just kidding.
Oh,
No, no, no.
yeah.
We're PC on the show, but that was just
Yeah.
poking good fun.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you think your course sort of like help you write morally great characters, those that fall under the I'm not sure who you are category in storytelling.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Once you study a bit, like, you have that background, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like um, psychology really goes into the making of a character,
Mm-hmm.
or the making of a voice. But even when you're doing poetry, so for sure it does help. I think also like part of my course is realizing that everyone is like, I mean, that's us. We're all morally gray in
Yeah,
some way, diba?
true.
No
We're
one
not
is
black
black
and
and
white.
white.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's really just looking for the humanity in someone, I guess, in a character or in a persona of a poem, and bringing out that humanity in the words and seeing what comes out.
true, true. So
Mm.
let's get to the book or novella in question. This is entitled
Oh,
Black.
yeah. May
Ta-da!
copy
Nandito
ako
na
dito.
siya.
Oh,
So,
yay! Thanks for getting a
yeah,
copy. Yay!
yeah, there you are. So, can
Yay!
you tell the viewers and the listeners what the book is all about?
Okay, so the book it's
With no
a
spoilers, of course.
okay, no spoilers. So it's a verse novella.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that it's a story, it's a fiction, but told in verse. So
Mm-hmm.
told in poetry form. So if you're going to look at it, there are really some parts that are formatted, I suppose, in such a way. But there's a reason why it's told in that way. There are also parts that actually parang may isang part dito na parang news item, parang ganun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then it's noir. So it's like noir
Yes.
poetry. So in terms of noir, like crime. So there's crime that was committed, and so just read it, guys. Just read it, everyone, and then you'll learn more about it.
Oh yeah, you
And
will. You will definitely learn. I like you mentioned about format, and one of the things that I found
mm,
enjoyable here with the format is, uh, when one of the characters is being brought to another wing of the house and they go up the
mm,
stairs. Literally, your
mm.
verse goes up. Paakyat talaga.
Oh, yeah,
Oo. And
yeah.
then, pag medyo pababa at medyo pahilo ng pahilo, ganyan naman, pababa, and then pag ganyan.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, I found it really curious and in line with what you wanted to present. Did you perhaps
Mm.
play with different titles for the book, or from the get go black talaga ang title?
From the get-go, it was always been black
Okay.
because there's one particular, teka, saan ba yun? Titingin din ako. There's one particular chapter where that's related to, na parang bakit siya black? And then it's, I don't know if it's a spoiler. I don't think so naman. But it's like, yun sa,
Sa article
uh,
or
the Fantabulous Fairy Festival Party.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
kasi parang in the party, they were saying that each room has a
Yes.
name. And there was a room that they couldn't find. And so
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
room is actually the black room.
Right.
So yun, yung parang implied siya.
Okay. All
Oo,
right.
yeah. So
Uh,
that's why.
that's the reason why. For those
Mm.
who read the book, as I said, you will find that structurally it is indeed different because you wrote it in verse form, just like in poetry, minus the over and hidden rhyme scheme, but just like stanza like construction.
Mm.
So I was wondering what made you decide to write it in this manner, and are there any other books that have been written this way?
Yes, actually, there have been. Oh, yeah, I'll answer the second question first. From my, there's one I have it here. Ay, nasa kabilang. kabilang kwarto ata. But it's called Blood Water Paint.
Okay,
That's
blood
the
water
name of
paint.
the book. It's also told, it's a verse novella, and it's about a female painter.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually based on real life. So I forgot the name of the painter, but it's called Blood Water Paint. And it tells the story of this female painter who at the time, hindi kasi sila like mostly it was men who painted, and then yung mga
Mm-hmm.
women were just like not credited and things.
Okay.
And so it's her story.
Mm.
Um, there's another one, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's Speak. Parang Speak ata,
Speak.
which is
Okay.
about, yeah, which is about a young woman who experiences sexual abuse. And
Mm.
so it's like told in that. Parang I think it was Speak. Pero yun. So yeah, the reason why I made it in that format, it's a verse novella, is because I'm really my training in the way I started really was with poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wanted to sort of capture that flow that poetry has, and I wanted to play around with different voices,
Okay.
and I wanted it to be more of the parang when you read it, yes, there's a story, there's a structure, but it's the voices. It's like it's not the story itself that is the main thing, but it's how the story is told. And I felt that to be able to do that, I really had to like embrace the poetry aspect of it. Because you're dealing more with the telling
Yeah.
rather than, the events. Because everyone here is an unreliable narrator. Diba?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about it, yes. When I was
Mm-mm.
reading it, I could hear the narrator in my head telling the viewer the details of the case, but as you said, it is in a film is noir setting. That's what I got
Mhm.
completely.
Yeah.
A film
Mhm.
noir setting, complete with rain, darkened alley shots, camera angles that are meant to
Yeah.
emphasize the light and the dark. It's all very chiaroscuro.
Yes. Yeah.
Was that the vibe that you wanted your readers to get when reading it? And
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm happy that you got it. It was really like I wanted to put in all those tropes and stereotypes of like noir, like it starts on a rainy night, yung mga ganon. But I wanted to play
mga
around with
ganon.
it.
The first thing
Oo.
that popped in sa akin, okay, si Mickey Spillane ba ang nagnanarrate nito? Parang ganun yung dating niya.
Oo. Or si ano ba 'to, Sam Malone, yung mga
Yeah,
gano'n.
yeah, yeah, sama
Oo,
to.
'di
Parang
ba?
ganun,
Kung ano
kaya
yung
parang
hat.
ganun yung dating, parang gigisingin mo ako to investigate this case.
Oo.
Oh, tapos na pala. What do you need me for? Parang ganon.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really wanted to, so there's a lot of play actually. There's a lot of play in the book. Like I hope people don't take it like super seriously, because it's like ano talaga siya, like in that sense. You know how serious noir is, and how
Yes.
like yeah again. But I wanted to like sort of ano that, play with that, add all these tropes, all these stereotypes, twist them a little. Kasi yung ating protagonist ay babae siya. So
Mm.
so, 'di ba, you're like, okay. And then then there's a femme fatale who may not be a femme fatale. So, and then there's a crime which may not be a crime. So it's like a lot of those things just
Right,
put
right.
together. And then I wanted to put it in a Filipino setting. I was like, okay, let's like do it in a Filipino setting. Let's see how that goes. How, you
And
know.
it
Mhm.
works beautifully well.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful. One line that stood out for me, and I had to use a highlighter for this. Ako, I don't really like doing that. Yung nag-highlight ng
Oh,
books. I feel that parang you're defacing the
mm-mm,
book in a certain way. But
mm-mm,
it's just the best way to kind of like remind you that this is what struck you at the moment when you're reading. The line is, let's see, where is this? Adoration is a prison. It's very profound. I wasn't page 18. I wasn't
mm-mm.
expecting to for that line to pop out, but it did. So I was wondering, can you tell us more of what you meant when you wrote that? Adoration is a prison.
I actually remember that line. Um, and it's something I think that came to me parang ano. Yung kay Nick Joaquin's Summer Solstice.
Mm, mm.
So
May Eve.
there's that story there. Yeah, there's that story where kasi in one of the stories, um at the end of it, the woman asks the man to kiss her foot.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of it, parang the vibe that you get, the conclusion you get is that she had like parang, and this was set during like, the olden times when women didn't have as much rights. And so you think, okay, it's like the woman, despite not having as much rights as man, she still has control over this man because she's like, kiss
Mm-hmm.
my foot, and he does it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got me to thinking. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, sure, she got him to do that, but at the end of the day, she still doesn't have as many rights and privileges as this man. Um, and all that proves is that he worships her and the ground she walks on, and he adores her because she's this beautiful thing. But and then that which leads to the line, yeah, but it's still a prison, you know.
Mm.
Kasi
Okay.
wala eh, parang yeah, it's like when you worship an idol, it's just that on a pedestal. It can never leave that pedestal. Because
Yeah.
when once it does, that means you don't worship it anymore. So yun. So I was just thinking, and that sort of like just stayed in my head for a while, and just that idea really of you know adoration and and even love, I suppose, the wrong kind
Yeah.
of love, being a
Yes.
sort of
Yes. The
uh,
unhealthy kind.
yeah, it's captivity in
Yes.
and of itself.
Indeed, it is.
Mm,
Another passage this time is in page 21.
mm,
This is the boy learned
yun
about
din po.
sickness. The boy
Mm,
learned about sickness and death.
mm,
Valuable lessons, don't you think? You have to learn them sometime. May as well
mm,
learn them from dogs before humans. The
mm,
statement is painfully true because I am a dog lover,
mm.
I got one sleeping right over there.
Oh my
um,
God.
I wonder, did you
What's his
ever draw?
name?
His name is Loki. So,
Oh,
pangalan pa lang, alam mo na kung
oo.
ano yung ugali niya. Yung
Si
isa nasa
Trickster
baba, yung
John.
sa babae, yes.
Mm.
Ano din, palaaway.
Oh.
Loki's a Malshi. The other one is Thor. He's downstairs and he's there with
Oh, he's the good boy.
he's the good boy. Yeah.
Oh.
Wala siyang angal. He may complain when you pick him up or whatever.
Mm.
But he'll still let you pet him and stroke him. Loki, if he's not in the mood, mga gatyan.
Mm.
Huwag kong guluhin. I don't feel
Oh.
you. You're not my type.
Yeah. That's mood. Mm.
Wala sa mood. Yun. So, as I said, while the statement is painfully true, I wonder,
Mm.
did you ever draw that upon real life or maybe someone else's experience with regards to dealing with sickness and death
Ah. Well,
and pets?
yeah, I think as like people in general, like all of us, we've like encountered sickness and death for a long time. For this particular section, so actually I was talking to a friend, I remember, and about the book and the different voices, and then sabi niya, alam mo yung pinaka for me, ang pinaka evil, ito si yung tita. So I
Mm.
was like, talaga? Sabi ko, bakit? In this chapter, it's daughter. So she's like the
Yeah.
daughter of the patriarch.
Uh,
So sabi niya, iyan yun. Pero yung tita yung tawag niya. Yung tita, kasi parang in reference to one of the other characters. Sabi ko, bakit? Sabi niya, kasi dahil sa ginawa niya. Kasi it's like, the others, you can understand. Like, okay, like this one guy, he's like the practical kind of evil. But this was just mean. And I was like, oo nga, no? And sabi niya,
mm.
what? Ba't ganon? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It's not from me. Like, I've never done such a thing. I love animals. I love pets. So, I think it's really just, I don't know, from maybe observing others. Sabay ng laglag eh. Si ano ganito. No, just really just from
Yeah, yeah.
observation. And then also just really, like, so it's not based on real life. Wala akong naging experience sa kanya. But we're also just thinking about maybe pushing someone. And then again, goes back to like, psychology, reading
Mm-hmm.
about that, and considering the things that we're capable of. So when I was like formulating the character in my mind, I was like, what could she be capable of?
Mm.
Like, what is that thing that she's able to do that to her would be nothing? Na parang wala lang. Kasi
Mm.
like, yun nga parang she's like, okay, basically she, she killed this dog, and then when her nephew was like crying over it, he's like, oh, he's so cute, he's crying over it pa, picturean ko nga, parang ganon.
Mm.
So parang I'm thinking that that's to show um her character, like what is inside her, kasi parang for each of the characters I wanted like and that I guess that's how I also envision characters. It's like I need a scene or an action that embodies who they are. Na
Yeah.
parang, and then yun yung anchor ko. Na parang I go back to it. Na parang, okay, sino nga ba tong character na? Okay, itong character na to yung ganun. Okay. And then
Yeah.
it's like you have that in your mind as you continue writing. And
I,
like,
I, I like
knowing
that
what
you
they say.
said that you have to give a character a, I don't know, let's say an defining moment or an iconic moment
Yes.
that sort of like ganyan yan eh. That's why they were able to do that, because that's how
Mm.
they are. That's how they're
Yeah.
built that way. That's how they're wired, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Mhm.
like that. I like that. As a book mentor and an author, do you still get some sort of resistance, or dare I use the word judgment, when people remark that novellas can't be books because they're not tome-like, they're not 80,000 words and above? I mean, do you still get that kind of resistance or viewpoint, or did you ever?
Actually, no, no, I didn't
No.
get that resistance.
Okay.
Interestingly, and the nice thing about like one of my publishers, because I've published in two different houses, yung Eight Letters. The
Hmm.
interesting thing about Eight Letters is that they embrace indie writers, and I think indie modes of writing. So recently, like this MIBF, um, magre-release sila, ay dapat nag-release, October na pala. So, nag-release sila ng 19 novellas.
Hmm.
Because they had a
Uy.
challenge. Like,
Yes,
write a
yes.
novella in 1 month. So,
Nice.
parang one
Hi,
chapter per
Cindy.
month. Hi, Cindy. Yeah. Oo. So it was very interesting. I wrote Black before this challenge. So, hindi na ako sumali kasi, ay, may novela
Mm.
na ako. But I really like that. I really love that idea na, because, novellas are like that in-between thing. And that's also why I chose the novella structure for Black, because I wanted it to be such an indie book, such an in-between book, such a thing that you couldn't really, you know, figure out na ano ba to?
Mhm,
Parang
mhm.
ganon. So I'm like, wala naman resistance so far.
Wala naman, oh.
Actually, mas may resistance nga sa people sa chapbook. Parang they don't understand what a chapbook is when I try to explain.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Yeah.
As part of part of your intro, what exactly is a chapbook?
Yeah, okay. So a chapbook it's usually used in for poetry.
Okay.
In the UK, it's called a pamphlet. They call it a pamphlet.
Okay, a pamphlet.
Um,
Yes. Okay.
yeah, oo. Pero in other countries, they call it a chapbook, and it's really just um, a small collection. It can be just you as a writer, or it can be with other people.
Mm-hmm.
A typical poetry collection kasi in general is 50 poems. Mga
All
50
right.
thereabouts. So
Okay.
anything less, like mga 20, 25, what we do is that we publish it as a chapbook.
Mm-hmm.
So, ganun. So, I will show this.
So it's
Mag-promote
it's
bigla
it's
eh.
definitely longer than a zine. Definitely.
Parang rin siyang zine,
Parang
actually.
zine na rin. Okay, it's like
Yeah,
a
like
zine.
some people use it interchangeably
Mm-hmm.
with zine. I think the thing lang with chapbook is that it's more poetry. Ang zine,
Okay.
pwede siyang may artwork,
Yes.
stories, and
Right.
things. Yeah. So I
Okay.
think
Ayun,
that's
you were you,
the
you were holding up a
yeah, no,
copy of the
ito.
chapbook. Ah, there you
Yeah,
are.
this is my
Okay.
latest chapbook, also with 8 letters, in Elena and other
Elena.
stories. Oh,
Ah.
although ito, stories talaga siya. So maybe it's
Mm-mm.
not a chapbook, maybe it's a zine. I'm not sure.
Could be.
I
Well,
like
we'll
calling
find
it a
more.
chapbook.
We'll find out more about it when MIBF rolls in,
Yeah.
or for those who have gotten a copy of that, because this, of course, this episode airs in October.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, the classics that we enjoy today aren't really 100,000 word length creations like, Animal Farm, George Orwell, Little Prince,
Mhm.
Mice and Men, Steinbeck, Metamorphosis, Kafka.
Yeah.
They may be short, but they're considered classics today. So do you think the trend in
Exactly.
writing is leading towards that shorter forms of literature? Because readers would probably favor shorter works because generation wise the attention span has gotten shorter and shorter.
Yeah,
And younger readers sort of like prefer that they cut to the good stuff rather than being setting up the world that the novel lives in. So what do you think?
that's an interesting question. I've never thought of it yet. Oo nga, no? Is that the trend? Like, curious, I am curious, like, globally.
Mm.
I used to work for a publishing house,
Oh, okay.
OMF Lit, and
Oh.
although hindi siya, hindi kami masyadong ma-fiction, more
Mm-hmm.
on non-fiction. But even
Mm-hmm.
for non-fiction, we usually have a cap for the word length.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did, when I was there, we did take into consideration the attention span, and also the different. So like, there's this one book. The initial manuscript, it was nonfiction, targeted towards like young women in their
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
20s to mga 30s, 40s. And the initial manuscript was 55,000 words.
Okay.
But we requested to the author na pwede bang bawasan yung words kasi hindi, we don't think that people would have the time to read that much like in one sitting, or even that
Mm-hmm.
babalik-balikan nila.
Yeah.
Ideally, sana mga 25,000 words lang. Although, parang masyadong konti yun for the author. The author was like, no, parang ano nang matitira.
Mm-hmm.
So, ang naging parang halfway point na lang was around 40 to 45,000 words. So, that was like, yun. But that's for non-fiction. So, for fiction, from what I'm just seeing, like, I'm just thinking of the times I've gone to a bookstore or like looked online. It there are it seems there's still room definitely for 100,000 words,
Mm-hmm.
last mga 80,000 to 100,000 is usually a novel, diba?
Yeah.
But it also does seem like things are getting shorter or parang napuputol-putol. Like, parang mas uso siguro if like it's a trilogy, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
more on. Like before, diba, it was like we only see that in fantasy um, novels. But now it
Right.
seems like there's like more room for that. Like people are like appreciating those things more, or like two-part books, mga ganon.
Mm-hmm.
And also shorter works and short story collections. I think there are still quite a number of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. I think that's a staple for a lot of people who I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe trying to get their feet wet. Yeah. Like, are you a writer?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm part of a collection. I'm part of an anthology. So
Yeah.
parang safe sila na I'm part of
Yes.
I'm part of the collective, but I'm not yet
Yes.
ready to bring out something that's really just mine. So okay lang na may
Yeah.
kasama ako. Parang ganun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oo. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, there are a lot of anthologies. Even for poetry also. Poetry
Hmm.
anthology, short story.
Yeah. Well, this brings me
Mm-mm.
to my next question. What would you say are good elements to have and to take note of when it comes to world building?
Oh, gosh. World building. So for me, and actually, interestingly, because I'm in the process of, I'm like writing something right now that is like set in, ano siya, parang, ano ko ba siya i-describe? Um, it's like different stories set in one world.
Okay.
So like it's set in a fictionalized, parang urban gothic world. So
Nice.
I've been like trying to, read up more on world building and things. And so, and also, as fantasy fans, diba? That's a huge thing for fantasy
Yeah,
world
exactly.
building.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, honestly, the important thing, like ako lang personally, is really verisimilitude. Parang the appearance of being real. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, like there's a certain, and I honestly I don't know how to do that pa, like I'm still trying to figure it out, na parang there's a certain way that the world is presented wherein it's a fantasy world, like there are dragons and there's magic and everything, but you buy it. Like,
Mm.
there's like, okay, it's like it's realistic in my heart. Parang ganon. You know,
Right,
parang
right.
it strikes a chord. So it makes it real to me, even if, you know, I know this is a fantasy world. So there, it's there. That's, I think, the heart of really good world building is that ability to get like verisimilitude. And again, I think it goes back to the characters living in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi, ano siya eh, like, you know, I think you can work on an entire world, you can make an entire language, you can talk to me about the geographical, you know, elements of it, like over here there are hills and everything, this is the elevation, this is the rainfall during the summer season. But I can't grasp that as much as if you show me how your characters move in this world and
Yeah.
how they
Okay.
interact with those elements. So for me, that really good world building goes hand in hand. I guess with good character building.
Good. Good. On the flip side, what elements should you not have in
Oh
the
my
world
gosh.
building?
Oh nga, no? I'm trying to think of like, if I've ever, hindi ako naman manglaglag. Parang, if I read a book tapos may world building na para akong, huh? Ba't ganun? Um, hmm, I wonder why. What? Oo nga. I think, and this is like, you know, debatable. I don't know if other people will agree with me so much. It's like, um, certain, certain ideologies, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Have you ever
Well,
like read, sige na nga, maglalaglag na lang ako. Have you ever read Sword of Truth? Yung kay Terry Goodkind.
oh yes, I have. I
I,
have.
you know, I didn't like it
Mm.
personally. I know that there's a fan base for it and people like. I don't know if you like it. Did you like it? I'm sorry if you like it. But
I
what to say?
I no. Excuse me. I enjoyed it. And likewise I also enjoyed the shows. I felt
Oh, there's
they
a show.
yeah.
Mm.
Legend of the Seeker.
Ah, okay.
Yun, two seasons lang. So sayang
Ah,
talaga.
mm.
I enjoyed that. Um, okay naman ang world building ni Goodkind, I guess, but uh, I have the
Mm.
entire series, but hindi ko na siya natapos.
Yeah, ako hindi ko na.
Because of my TBR pile, it just keeps
Yeah,
piling
same.
up.
Oh,
And then at the same time, there were things that he did in his career that were rather offensive. He wasn't.
there you go.
Uh,
Yeah, okay.
so
So,
medyo na ano ko na turn off din ako sa kanya ng ganyan. So oh, okay,
oh.
ang
Yeah, so
dami-dami ko pinalik.
even before those things occurred,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you read Sword of Truth, I think medyo makikita mo na rin eh. Kasi parang, wasn't, like, okay, imagine like Wheel of Time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have their main character who basically has a harem and everything. Pero nabasa ko yun. I loved it. I enjoyed everything about it until the very end. But with Sword of Truth, parang, for some reason, the way that, like, the sense that you get with the portrayal of women and
Mm-hmm.
the things made me very uncomfortable. And I'm like, I
Mm.
there's something, and then and then later on you find out na parang, oh, okay, it's because he has this kind of ideology pala.
Uh,
And he's like, ganito pala siya. So medyo,
that's how he views women or whatever. Diba?
yeah, oh, so medyo pumasok yun sa book. I don't know if he meant it like on purpose or if it just came out ganyan. So
Mm-hmm.
parang for me, that really took me out of the, like, despite like his skill as a writer, it really took me out of the world. And
Mm.
parang medyo na ano ko dun, parang, oh, okay. So yun. But I don't know. Because there are other worlds naman wherein, that there's something about, like, for example, like, nagiging controversial ng atin. Like, for example, Harry Potter, di ba? I mean, a lot of people still enjoy the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
But you have J.K. Rowling who has this set of, beliefs that
Yeah.
they don't subscribe to. So, like, how do you... And then there's that huge question, di ba, na how do you still... How, ano,
Yeah. Ako
ano man
din.
to, di ba? And then,
How can you still love a fandom when the
yeah,
creator of that particular fandom
but
um
Buffy.
has
right?
different, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing for me. Josh Whedon, Buffy.
Yeah,
I
Joss
love
Whedon.
Buffy. I have Buffy books right there behind
Oh my
me.
gosh, yeah. Ako
But
naman, for Josh, I wasn't so much Buffy, but Firefly was one of my
mas
favorite
Firefly ka.
series.
Okay.
I like really like Firefly is one of my comfort series. So parang
Mm,
struggle talaga ako, 'di ba? Parang paano yung Diyos?
diba?
Why man? So and I don't know the answer honestly. I until now I struggle with that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
I guess it's that. I mean,
yeah.
being a creative and also a public figure, in a way, it's not part of the handbook on how to
Yeah.
let's say present yourself to the public, but it's a given rule that don't be an
Mm-mm.
ass, diba?
Yeah.
And if
Oh.
ever you are, maybe being a writer is the wrong profession for you. I don't know.
Yeah, or I don't know, maybe
A
you should
creative,
like,
I don't
I don't
know.
know. It's hard, no? Kasi,
It's
sorry,
hard.
na ano na tayo from world building, you
Oh,
know? Pero
that's okay.
parang
That's
that's what
okay.
takes me out of the world, eh. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
knowing too much about the author or seeing things that I feel na parang maybe the author is like thinks this way and I'm not very comfortable with that. I
Or
don't
if
know.
ever
Parang,
they had certain ideologies, they've sort of like changed, and they
mm,
own up to what they said before. It's like, okay,
yeah.
prime example is James Gunn, diba? From Guardians of the Galaxy. There was
Oh,
some,
yeah, yeah. There was an
yeah.
issue din pala with
That's
him.
why
Oo.
that's why he was taken out of Marvel and now he's with DC. So
Mm,
because Marvel felt that we couldn't work with someone who has issues with
yeah.
with gender and race and all.
Mm,
So parang, but then again he said that was an immature version of
yeah,
me.
yeah.
I'm not that person
Yeah,
anymore.
and people
So
change then.
yeah,
Oh.
so at least for him there's a redemptive arc. So
Yes,
that's
yeah.
that's pretty much okay.
Which we can hope for, I guess, for all the other like authors who we
Yeah,
love. And I
exactly,
mean
exactly.
to be fair, like for stuff like Firefly and Buffy, parang yeah, diba Joss was you know Joss Whedon was the main brains behind it. But I mean everyone played the part. Like, I still really love like you know Nathan Fillion and
Yeah,
Sarah
yeah.
Michelle Gellar. Diba?
Right,
Parang hindi
right.
lang naman sila. Like, there was an entire ecosystem around the series that, which is why, like, you can still love it, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly, exactly.
he was one part of it, like, but he
Yeah,
wasn't all of it. So,
exactly. So
and
I
I
guess
think
I,
it's the
I guess
same with,
that probably
you
answers
know,
your question why some people also still have that love for the Harry Potter fandom. You just
that's
gotta you just
true.
gotta
Yeah.
go back to why you love it and
Yeah, and what
filter
it
out
meant to
why you
you.
don't like it. No?
Yeah. Oh.
I guess it's that. Any word of advice for aspiring writers or fellow creatives?
Ah, well, definitely, it's the very gus advice, but it's true. Keep reading, and not just reading. Keep watching. Keep
Yeah,
like writing. Just you need
fill
to,
your
and
head.
yeah, and it's not just like the stuff you like, just the stuff like like parang read wide, read deep,
Mm-hmm.
diba?
Yeah.
Like try
Okay.
reading stuff you won't like, pick up usually, like nonfiction. Kung di ka
Yeah. Challenge
masyado,
yourself.
yeah,
Exactly.
oh,
Yeah. If you hate biographies, try mo lang. You might like
try mo
it.
lang,
Diba?
read one,
Oh,
yeah.
exactly. Where can they get a copy of Black?
So they can get a copy of Black from Eight Letters Publishing. So
Mm-hmm.
you can get this, well, it's MIBF and on the Eight Letters website, as well as Shopee. So you can get a copy
Okay.
Shopee. And if you have a Kindle, you can get a copy on Amazon. So meron siyang ebook copy on
All
Kindle.
right. Awesome. Awesome. Where can they know more about you and your work and follow you on social media?
Oh, so I have a Facebook page. So you can just search me, Michellan Alagao, and then my page will come up. And I also have a IG account. So it's at Mitch Alagao. And
Okay.
I'm there and I post pictures like of like books and random things. Sometimes I post pictures of my cats. Uh, sometimes I post pictures of like coffee shops I've been to. Wala lang.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And books I'm reading and also my books.
Right. So yeah, I
Yes.
will post that all in the show notes so that people will just, all they need to do is just click on
Yay.
it and they'll be there. That's a wrap for today. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Miss
so much as
Michellan
well.
Alagao, for joining
Thank
us
you,
on this
CJ.
episode. We wish you all the best in all your future writing endeavors. That particular project that you mentioned, during the interview. I can't wait
Mhm.
to see what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Next year po.
if it's dark fiction and more Trollocs and more and more Forsaken.
More
Sige, go!
more
Go!
fades, the
More
eyeless
fades.
ones.
Oo. Oh, kung meron ka pang musical episode na Fade na kumakanta, sige, go. Push
Oh
mo
my
yan.
gosh. Oh my,
Push mo
imagine ko.
yan.
Oh,
Oh boy.
oh,
Thank you also to Spine Books for your support since day one. And if in case you want to get a copy of Sojourn and Take Me Now, these are our own works. And sorry, it's self promotion.
no, go lang.
They're
I will
here.
get a copy then. In my BF.
I'll see you
Where
at
can I find it?
MIBF. Yes, it's also on Shopee, and I'll put the link on the show notes. But the link is shopee.ph/spinebooks. And if you are a creative and you would like to be featured on the podcast, easy peasy. Just email us urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and of course now Threads, and me as well over at cjedmunds.com. So till the next episode, Indie Creatives Unite. Keep creating, and we will keep reading. Stay safe, stay creative. Namaste, and blessed be. And the light be with you all.
Yes. The wheel weaves as the wheel
We
wills.
will. Hey, thank you all for joining us on this episode today. Next week, we have Miss Mariví Soliven as our guest. Now, if you are a fan, you know you need to tune in. And if tuning in weekly to the show has been part of your lifestyle, we thank you so much for that. Hey, speaking of lifestyle, the Mega Brands and Lifestyle Sale returns next week, Friday to Sunday. That is October 13 to 15 at the Mega Trade Hall 3 of SM Mega Mall. Now, the event, which started last 2010, is one of the longest running brand and lifestyle sales in the metro and is visited by about 20,000 to 30,000 shoppers every time they stage it. Now, admission is free and just in time, not just for payday weekend, but also for those who have already begun or just about to start their holiday shopping as of now. So go visit the Mega Brands and Lifestyle Sale October 13 to 15 next week at the Mega Trade Hall number 3 of SM Mega Mall. Now, if you are a creative and you would like to be featured on the podcast, simply email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. And all of our past episodes are ready for you to listen to, or just watch it chronologically or out of order, depending on your mood, or especially chronologically if you're listening to us for the first time. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Thank you for today, and we'll see you next week. That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.